The power of regret, how looking backward moves us forward. Let me tell you about one of the most misunderstood emotions we all experience, regret. For years, we've been told to live with no regrets. From Edith Piaf's famous song to motivational speakers and self-help gurus, the message has been clear. Regret is dangerous. Regret holds you back. Regret is something to avoid at all costs. But what if everything we've been told about regret is wrong? Picture this. It's October 1960 in Paris. A frail woman named Edith Piaf, weighing less than 100 pounds and recovering from a coma, reluctantly agrees to hear one song from a nervous composer named Charles Dumont. That song was Je ne regrette rien, I regret nothing. It became an international sensation, capturing a philosophy that would echo through generations. Yet here's the fascinating part. Piaf's own life was filled with tragedy, addiction, and choices that led to her early death at 47. Her final words? Every damn thing you do in this life, you have to pay for. Does that sound like someone with no regrets? This contradiction reveals something profound about human nature. We claim to have no regrets. We tattoo no regrets on our bodies. We celebrate the idea of moving forward without looking back. But the truth is, regret is one of the most common emotions we experience. It's not a flaw in our character, it's a feature of being human. Let me explain what regret actually is. Regret requires two remarkable human abilities working together. First, we can time travel in our minds. We can mentally return to the past, change what happened, and imagine a different present. Second, we can tell stories about things that never actually happened. These two capabilities combine to create regret. When a 52-year-old woman says, "I wish I had followed my desire to get a graduate degree instead of giving in to my dad's wishes," she's performing an astonishing mental feat. She's traveling back decades, negating what really happened, substituting an alternative, and then returning to a reimagined present where she's more satisfied and fulfilled. This ability to experience regret develops as our brains mature. Young children don't understand regret until around age 6. By age 8, they can even anticipate it. And here's something striking. The absence of regret isn't a sign of enlightenment, it's often a sign of brain damage. Studies show that people with lesions on specific parts of their brain, or those suffering from diseases like Huntington's, Parkinson's, or schizophrenia, lose the ability to feel regret. They can't grasp the concept. In other words, regret isn't a bug in our psychological software, it's essential to proper human functioning. So how common is regret? Extremely. When researchers asked people how often they look back and wish they'd done things differently, only 1% said never. 82% said they do this at least occasionally, and 43% do it frequently or all the time. In one study analyzing everyday conversations, regret was the second most common emotion people expressed, beaten only by love. Now, let's talk about what people actually regret. For decades, researchers tried to answer this question by categorizing regrets into life domains: education, career, family, romance, health, finances. Early studies suggested education was our biggest regret, with 32% of people naming it as their primary regret. But these studies had problems. They often surveyed college students or used unrepresentative samples. When more careful research was done with truly representative populations, the picture changed. Regrets spread across many areas: romance, family, education, career, finance, health, and friendships. No single category dominated. But here's where it gets interesting. Just as language has both surface structure and deep structure, the way sentences appear versus the underlying grammar, regret has both surface structure and deep structures too. What people regret on the surface, whether it's about education, career, or relationships, matters less than the hidden architecture of human motivation beneath it. Through analyzing thousands of regrets from around the world, 4 core categories emerge. These are the deep structures of regret, and they reveal fundamental human needs. The first is foundation regrets. These sound like, "if only I'd done the work." Think of Aesop's fable about the ant and the grasshopper. The grasshopper plays all summer while the ant stores food. When winter comes, the grasshopper dies while the ant survives. Foundation regrets arise when we choose short-term pleasure over long-term stability. We skip studying in school. We spend instead of save. We party instead of exercising. The consequences don't appear immediately. They compound gradually, then suddenly, like Ernest Hemingway described bankruptcy. Consider Jason, who landed a job at Best Buy right after high school and quickly became the youngest sales manager in company history. He climbed corporate ladders, earning a six-figure salary, but from his first paycheck, he bought whatever he wanted. Nothing extravagant, just daily purchases that felt good. 25 years later, despite working incredibly hard, he has almost nothing in the bank. He regrets those decades of fiddling while he should have been preparing. Foundation regrets reveal our need for stability, a basic infrastructure of educational, financial, and physical well-being that reduces uncertainty and frees us to pursue meaning. The lesson? Think ahead, do the work, start now. The second core regret is boldness regrets. These sound like, if only I'd taken that risk. Remember Bruce, the 22-year-old American on a train through France? He met a Belgian woman and they talked for hours, playing games and holding hands. It felt like they'd known each other forever. At midnight, she had to leave. He considered leaving with her, but didn't. 40 years later, he still regrets not stepping off that train. Boldness regrets often begin with a voice that isn't heard. People regret being too introverted, too shy, not speaking up. They regret not asking someone out, not starting a business, not traveling, not taking the job in a new city. Remarkably, research consistently shows that over time, we regret inactions far more than actions. When we act, we know the outcome. Even if it's bad, we can process it and move on. But when we don't act, we can only speculate endlessly about what might have been. Those eggs of inaction, as poet Ogden Nash wrote, lay under our skin and haunt us forever. At the heart of boldness regrets is thwarted growth, the failure to become happier, braver, more evolved, the failure to live authentically. Many people regret not coming out as gay or lesbian earlier, not standing up for their identity, not being true to themselves. When authenticity is suppressed, so is growth. Boldness regrets reveal our need for growth, to expand as people, to experience life's richness, to take chances. The lesson? Speak up. Ask them out. Take that trip. Start that business. Step off the train.
The third core regret is moral regrets. These sound like, if only I'd done the right thing. These are perhaps the smallest category numerically, but often the most painful. Think of Steve, who bullied classmates in middle school and punched someone hard enough to break their teeth at age 16. Now at 43, these actions are his deepest regrets. Or consider the hundreds of people who regret marital infidelity, even decades later. Moral regrets divide into 5 types based on moral foundations theory. First, harm, bullying, cruelty, treating others badly. People regret these actions intensely, even when they occurred in childhood. Second, cheating, breaking trust, lying, stealing, being unfaithful. Third, disloyalty, failing to serve one's group or country. Fourth, subversion of authority, though these regrets were rare in the research. Fifth, desecration, violating what we hold sacred, with abortion being a particularly contested example where people's views diverge sharply. What's remarkable about moral regrets is what they reveal. Deep in our souls is a desire to be good. When we fail at this, it haunts us. Moral regrets reveal our need for goodness. The lesson? When in doubt, do the right thing. The fourth and largest core regret is connection regrets. These sound like, if only I'd reached out. These involve relationships that have frayed, ripped, or never properly formed with spouses, parents, siblings, friends, colleagues. Consider Cheryl and Jen, who were close friends in college. Jen invited Cheryl to visit and meet a potential romantic match. Cheryl declined because she was dating someone Jen didn't approve of. They exchanged letters for a while, but then stopped. 25 years passed without contact. Cheryl deeply regrets letting this friendship drift away. Connection regrets divide into 2 types, closed door and open door. Closed door regrets involve relationships we can't repair, often because someone has died. Amy wanted to call her childhood friend Deepa, who was dying of cancer but kept putting it off. When Amy finally called, Deepa had died that morning. The opportunity was gone forever. Open-door regrets involve relationships we could still repair but haven't, often because we fear awkwardness. Here's what's fascinating. We vastly overestimate how awkward reaching out will be. Studies show that when people initiate conversations with strangers on trains, both parties enjoy it more than expected. When people give compliments, they overestimate how bothered the recipient will be and underestimate how positively they'll react. We assume our discomfort is unique, but it's not. This is called pluralistic ignorance. The most important long-term study of human well-being, Harvard's Grant study, followed people for 80 years and reached a simple conclusion. Close relationships, more than money or fame, keep people happy throughout their lives. Ties to family and community are better predictors of long and happy lives than social class, IQ, or genes. As one researcher summarized, happiness is love. Full stop. Connection regrets reveal our need for love. Not just romantic love, but the broader kind that includes attachment, devotion, and community. The lesson for closed doors? Do better next time. The lesson for open doors? Push past the awkwardness and reach out now. These 4 core regrets, foundation, boldness, moral, and connection, operate as a photographic negative of the good life. Reverse the image and you see what we truly need: stability, growth, goodness, and love. Now, how do we handle our regrets? The key is understanding that regret is better for thinking than for wallowing. There are 3 main strategies depending on the type of regret. For action regrets, things we did that we wished we hadn't, we can try to undo them or at least atone them. Undoing means apologizing, making amends, or reversing the decision. If you bullied someone, apologize. If you broke trust, rebuild it. If you got a regrettable tattoo, like Jeff, who tattooed "no regrets" on his arm but discovered he had plenty of regrets, you can get it removed, though it's painful, time-consuming, and expensive. If you can't undo an action regret, try at leasting it, finding the silver lining. I married the wrong person, but at least I got these wonderful children. I made a bad career choice, but at least I learned valuable lessons. At leasting doesn't change what happened, but it changes how we feel about it, like taking antibiotics to fight harmful emotions. For all regrets, whether action or inaction, there's a 3-step process: self-disclosure, self-compassion, and self-distancing. First, self-disclosure means revealing the regret, either to others or just to yourself in writing. Research shows that humans find self-disclosure intrinsically rewarding, so much so that people will accept less money just for the chance to talk about themselves. Studies show that writing or talking about negative experiences for 15 minutes a day significantly increases life satisfaction and improves physical and mental health. The key is that language forces us to organize and integrate our thoughts, converting vague mental abstractions into concrete units we can analyze. Don't just think about your regret. Write about it for 15 minutes on 3 consecutive days, or talk about it into a recorder, or tell someone about it. Second, self-compassion means treating yourself with the same grace you'd offer a friend. When we stumble, we're often far harsher on ourselves than we'd be with anyone else. This is counterproductive. Self-compassion has 3 components. First, kindness toward yourself rather than harsh self-criticism. Second, recognizing that mistakes and imperfections are part of the shared human experience. You're not uniquely flawed. Third, maintaining balanced awareness of negative emotions without suppressing them or over-identifying with them. Research shows self-compassion delivers the benefits of self-esteem without the downsides. It increases optimism, happiness, and wisdom while decreasing depression, anxiety, and stress. Crucially, self-compassion doesn't foster complacency. It actually helps people take responsibility and make changes. When people write themselves a letter about their regret from a compassionate perspective, they're more likely to change their behavior than those who try to boost self-esteem or who just dwell on the regret. Third, self-distancing means zooming out to analyze the regret as an observer rather than immersing yourself in it. You can distance through space using the fly-on-the-wall technique, viewing the situation as a neutral observer would. You can distance through time, imagine how you'll feel about this regret in 10 years. Or you can distance through language, talk about yourself in the third person, like Julius Caesar writing about himself. Or use you instead of I. These techniques aren't just feel-good exercises, they have measurable effects on thinking, problem-solving, and even blood pressure. They help us extract lessons from regrets and apply them to future behavior. But what about anticipating regrets before they happen? This is powerful but tricky. Anticipated regret can improve our behavior in many ways. It can motivate us to exercise more, eat healthier, get vaccinated, drive more carefully, and recycle more. Jeff Bezos famously used what he calls the regret minimization framework to decide whether to leave his banking job to start Amazon. He projected himself to age 80 and asked which choice would minimize future regret. The answer was clear: try the internet business. Not trying would haunt him forever. However, anticipating regret has downsides. We often overestimate how bad we'll feel about future regrets, like meteorologists who keep predicting rain that never comes. This can distort our decisions. We become overly cautious, choosing options that minimize regret rather than maximize outcomes. We become paralyzed, unable to decide. We refuse to trade lottery tickets even when offered money, fearing the astronomical odds that we'd trade away a winner. We stick with our first answer on tests when research shows we should often change answers, the first instinct fallacy. The biggest danger is trying to minimize regret in all areas of life. This is a form of maximizing, always seeking the absolute best option, which research shows makes people miserable. Maximizers report significantly less life satisfaction and more depression than satisficers, who settle for good enough. The key is to optimize regret, not minimize it. Here's the framework. Reserve your mental energy for anticipating the 4 core regrets: foundation, boldness, moral, and connection. For most decisions that don't involve these fundamentals, satisfice. Buying a microwave or lawn furniture, make a choice and move on. But for decisions involving stability, growth, goodness, or love, take time. Project yourself into the future. Ask which choice will help you build your foundation, take a sensible risk, do the right thing, or maintain meaningful connections. Use anticipated regret as a guide for these crucial decisions, but don't obsess over every choice. Let me share something personal. When researchers asked people whether they have free will and whether things happen for a reason, the results were puzzling. Only 5% disagreed with both propositions, call them the nihilists. 10% believed in free will but not fate, the individualists. Another 10% believed in fate but not free will, the fatalists. But 75% of people believed both that they have free will and that things happen for a reason, beliefs that seem contradictory. What should we call this largest group? Humans. Because this contradiction captures something essential about being human. We're both authors and actors in our lives. We shape the plot, but not fully. We can toss aside the script, but not always. We live at the intersection of free will and circumstance. Regret reminds us of this dual role. When we look at our regrets, we're crafting stories with 2 possible narratives. One is a contamination sequence, things going from good to bad. The other is a redemption sequence, things going from bad to good. Research shows people whose life stories involve redemption narratives tend to be happier and more accomplished. They rate their lives as more meaningful. Regret offers us the ultimate redemption narrative. It arrives on our doorstep wearing a disguise, looking like a negative emotion we should avoid. But properly handled, it's as powerful and affirming as any positive emotion. Think of it like this. Regret makes us human. Our ability to time travel mentally, to rewrite events, to compare what is with what might have been, this is what separates us from other species. Children develop this ability as their brains mature. People who lack it due to brain damage or disease struggle to function normally. Regret is woven into the fabric of human consciousness. Regret also makes us better. It sharpens our decisions by slowing us down and prompting us to gather more information. It elevates our performance by deepening our persistence and creativity. It strengthens our sense of meaning by connecting us to our values and to other people. The world's longest study of human well-being concluded that relationships are what matter most, and connection regrets remind us of this truth. Most importantly, regret gives us hope. It shows us we're not passive victims of circumstances, but active participants in our lives. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we fail sometimes to do the work, take the risk, do the right thing, or reach out. But recognizing these patterns reveals what we truly value: stability, growth, goodness, and love. Cheryl, the woman who regretted losing touch with her college friend Jen, finally pushed past her fear of awkwardness. 25 years after their last contact, she sent an email. "I suspect it might be strange to hear from you after all these years." Jen replied within hours. They met for a virtual lunch. Cheryl told her friend how much she regretted losing those years they could have spent together. Jen's response? "But we still have a lot of years left." That's the power of regret. It's not about dwelling on the past, it's about using the past to move forward. It's about recognizing that we're flawed, but capable of growth. It's about understanding that every choice has consequences, but those consequences can teach us. Looking backward moves us forward. That's not a paradox, it's a fundamental truth about human nature. The no regrets philosophy sounds appealing, but it's hollow. A life without regret would be a life without learning, without the capacity to recognize mistakes and correct them. It would be a life diminished, not enhanced. The 4 core regrets reveal 4 core needs. We need stability to stand on. We need boldness to grow. We need goodness to guide us. We need love to complete us. When we fail to meet these needs, regret emerges. When we listen to that regret, when we disclose it, treat ourselves with compassion, distance ourselves enough to learn from it, we can transform it from a source of pain into a catalyst for positive change. So, embrace your regrets, not by wallowing in them, by learning from them. Write them down. Be kind to yourself about them. Look at them from a distance. Ask what they're trying to teach you. Use them to make better decisions about the things that truly matter: your foundation, your growth, your goodness, and your love. This is how we craft redemption narratives from our mistakes. This is how we become wiser, kinder, more authentic versions of ourselves. This is how looking backward moves us forward. Regret makes us human. Regret makes us better. And regret, properly understood and properly used, gives us hope for the future we can still create.